Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games. Today we're going to unbox some Marvel Champions content. Marvel Champions is one of my favorite games of all time. I'm going to unbox this hero pack for Quicksilver. This is not a new pack. This pack has been out for a while, but it is new to me. Now, in Marvel Comics, Quicksilver is the brother of the ever so famous and popular or controversial Scarlet Witch. And Scarlet Witch happens to be one of my favorite characters for the game. So I'm really excited about opening Quicksilver and seeing what his toolkit looks like, what his pre-con deck looks like, and seeing what new cards and combinations and such will be made available through the opening of this pack here. So there's some tape I should have removed first. So this always comes, these hero packs, they always come with these little pamphlets here that give you a summary of what the hero or the character does, along with any new keywords that might be introduced. Some time ago, Team Up was introduced. We've got the keyword Insight, which might not have been first introduced in this hero pack, but was not original to the core set. So for anybody who this might be their first introduction to the keyword, they have these descriptions here. And of course, the keyword piercing. And they give you a little bit of a synopsis on their pre-con aspect and so on and so forth. Of course, you got some credits and such, and some beautiful artwork here in the back of Quicksilver running over, I guess, perhaps the Hudson River or the East River or maybe some other river. And then, of course, we got the heart of the matter, which are the cards that come in the game. And these hero packs usually come with the hero or the character's identity card, along with their toolkit and enough aspect and basic cards to form a 40-card pre-constructed deck. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing super duper powerful. It's just a way to get a player to be able to bring Quicksilver to the table and take on a scenario. Usually, if you want to be more efficient and more proficient, you have to do a little bit of deck construction of your own and tweak these pre-con decks and such. And they always have one particular aspect. Quicksilver here has the protection aspect. So that's going to be his emphasis. That's cool. It's always great. It's funny about protection. I do personally find it, and I don't have the largest card pool, but I do personally find it to be the weaker among the aspects. At the same time, for whatever reason, it's the one that I actually have the most fun with. But along with these cards that give you a pre-constructed deck of 40, you always get a character's obligation, which will be put in most encounters, along with their nemesis set. For Quicksilver, Avalanche is his nemesis. And they give you 3 copies each of a new aspect card for the other aspects that are not the pre-constructed deck, along with 3 additional copies of a card for the basic set. So here we have Quicksilver's identity card. Let's take a look at his basic stats. So he's a 1 thwart, a 1 attack, a 1 defense, all low numbers. However, he has this super speed ability. It's a response. After you use one of Quicksilver's basic powers, thwart, attack, or defense, you can ready him. So this is really cool because you'll be able to activate these basic actions twice. And it says here in parentheses that there's a limit of once per phase, not once per round. That means if you do this during the hero or player phase, it does not disqualify you from being able to do it later on during the villain phase, which is the second and latter phase of the round. So that's really cool. That means you would be able to defend, only reduce the damage by 1. However, you would be able to ready, and he would be prepared to defend future attacks. So that could be really, really cool. We have his alter ego side here, Pietro Maximoff. And it says super powered siblings. He only has a recovery of 3. By the way, his hand size is 6. And he is one of those lower health heroes. His hit points are only at 9. So that's something you have to watch out for. But he has this ability, this alter ego action. Discard 2 cards from your hand and draw 2 cards. Draw 3 cards instead if Wanda Maximoff is in play. Limit once per round. And this is the same exact alter ego ability that his twin sister, Scarlet Witch, has in her alter ego form as well. She could discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards. That's a cool way to perhaps get to some of the cards in your deck that you're looking for more quickly and more efficiently. Of course, his signature ally is Scarlet Witch. That makes sense. It's the same for the Scarlet Witch deck, where Quicksilver is her signature ally. She has a cost of 3 to play her. She has 3 hit points, and she has 1 thwart and 1 attack with a consequential damage respectively for each. It says here she has an interrupt ability. When you use one of Scarlet Witch's basic powers, discard the top card of the encounter deck. For each boost icon discarded this way, Scarlet Witch gets +1 to that power for this use. So it's kind of similar to her hero toolkit, where a lot of it is about deck manipulation, and sometimes the boost icons affect or add on to some of the actions that she takes. Same thing here. So although her baseline stats are pretty low, depending on the cards that are revealed and their boost icons, she can be potentially more powerful and more useful. So it's kind of like a game of press your luck with her. All right, so now let's see some of the cards in his toolkit. We have this Always Be Running, and as you can see here, there are 4 copies of the card. Quite often with these cards, you might have 1, 2, or 3 copies. Occasionally, you get 4, kind of like Black Panther in the core set, where he has 4, or actually he has 5 Wakanda Forever cards. So it's a big part of what he does. Same thing here, Always Be Running. It has a cost of 1. It's an event, and it's a hero action, basically ready Quicksilver. So Quicksilver already has innately printed on his identity card on his hero side that he can ready once per phase. And now on top of it all, he has these 4 pretty cost-effective cards that allow him to further ready himself. So although his stats are on the weak side, you're going to be able to trigger them multiple times, distribute and divide them as you please, which can be very useful because sometimes you have characters with very big attack stats, but you wish you could distribute their attack among multiple characters, or you wish you could have done a little bit of thwarting and a little bit of attacking during the same turn. And with a character like Quicksilver, you would be able to do such. So this is a really interesting card. We also have 2 copies of this Double Time. It's a hero action, a little bit more expensive than Always Be Running with a cost of 2. It's a hero action. Choose 2 of the following, and you may choose the same option twice. And there are only 2 options. So basically, you could repeat one of these 2 actions 2 times, or you can choose to do both. So you could deal 2 damage to an enemy and remove 2 threat from a scheme. So again, lending itself to Quicksilver's versatility, where he can do a little bit of both. And again, you could repeatedly use him during the course of the turn innately with his hero ability on top of the Always Be Running card. So Quicksilver can spread himself and do a lot of stuff, which I guess is thematic. He's a fast human being, the world's fastest human being, I guess, in the Marvel side of things. And then we have Maximum Velocity, which is a 2-cost event. There's 2 copies of this card, max 1 per phase. So even though you can play these, you cannot repeatedly play them during the same phase. It's a hero action. You get +2 thwart, +2 attack, and +2 defense until the end of the round. So if you combo Maximum Velocity with a Double Time or 2, not to mention the fact that Quicksilver himself can ready for once per phase, or once per phase, you can have a really, really productive turn with Quicksilver if you can get a maximum velocity and maybe one or two of these always be running cards. Yeah, you can have some really, really good turns. Not to mention any other potential modifiers to Quicksilver's baseline stats. So here we have a Speed Cyclone. This is the final event in his toolkit. And as you can see here, it's an X. That means basically a player can pay what they want to for it. And it tells us here, you can stun X enemies. So if you have a bunch of minions surrounding you, this could be a useful card where you can pay however many cards you want to, and that many enemies, that would include the villain and any other minions engaged with you, or I guess even minions not engaged with you, engaged with other players, and you'd be able to stun them. So very useful card. There is only one copy of this card in Quicksilver's toolkit. Now we have the Serval Industries, and this is his support card, and it's a cost of 1. It is an alter ego action. I believe it's the only card in his toolkit with the X Factor trait. His identity does not have the X Factor trait. It just has Avenger and Civilian. I believe there are a few of the aspect cards that perhaps have that trait. But here it says, exhaust Serval Industries. And if you do this, you can shuffle 2 Quicksilver cards from your discard pile into your hand. So this is a cool way to not only delay the running out of your deck, but it's also a cool way to get some of the better cards that you need back into your deck so they could come again soon. We have this upgrade here, which is Accelerated Reflex. There's only one copy of this card. It has a cost of 2. And basically, it adds to Quicksilver defense. So once Quicksilver has this card in play, not to mention the fact that he could defend potentially twice per villain phase, he's going to be pretty secure as far as taking damage, which will counter and make up for the fact that he has a low stat as far as hit points go. So we have this other upgrade here, which is Friction Resistance. Again, only one copy of this card. It's a cost of 3. Hero Response. After you ready Quicksilver, you ready this card. And you could exhaust Friction to generate a fist resource. So basically, it's a resource generator that has the ability to be triggered twice per round, because if once Quicksilver is readied, which he can always ready once, you'll be able to ready this again. So although you won't be able to use 2 fist resources at a time, you would still be able to use 2 fist resources for 2 separate cards that you could play. So that's still useful. Then we have the Hyper Perception upgrade. It has a cost of 2, only one copy. Quicksilver gets +1 thwart, so a way to permanently increase his thwart stat, which again will make his repeated use much more valuable. And then we have this Reinforced Sinew, which is another upgrade of a cost 2, only one copy. Quicksilver gets +1 attack. So yes, again, you got both of these cards. You get them out there, as well as this Accelerated Reflex. It permanently increases his baseline stats, and it makes his repeated usage even more valuable. Now we're going to go into the aspect cards that come here, in particular in his pre-constructed deck. We're going to go through this a little bit more rapidly. Don't want to take too much time from this video. And here we have Multiple Man. And as you can see, although he has his main title, his hero name, and his alter ego identity, he does not have the unique icon. And the reason why is because you can have multiple mans. It makes sense thematically in your deck. So you have 3 multiple mans. He has a pretty weak stat line here and very low hit points. However, his ability is interesting. After Multiple Man enters play, search your deck and hand for a copy of Multiple Man and put it into play. Shuffle your deck if it was searched this way. So early on in the game, according to the circumstances, if you haven't discarded any copies of Multiple Man yet, you can potentially get all 3 of Multiple Mans out there in your player area. So this could be very useful for the infamous chump block strategy. Not to mention the fact that you would be able to get simple activation from each of these characters and have a bunch of them out there at the same time. So that again can be useful. We also have this ally here, Warlock. So we have two X Factor allies here. And Warlock, one of the favorites, former New Mutant, here with a baseline stat of 1 and 1. Again, very low. He has one more hit point at least than Multiple Man. And he has this action where if you spend a science resource, heal up 2 damage from Warlock. So with the right cards in your hand, you would be able to keep Warlock around for some time. So although his activation stats are very, very low, there are ways to keep him around. Not to mention the fact that Multiple Man, because there's so many copies of him, would stay around in some shape or form for some time. So we see kind of like a reoccurring theme there. Then we have this Never Back Down event card with a cost of 1. It is a defense card, a Hero Interrupt. It says when you defend against an attack, you get +2 defense for this attack. So again, another way of helping Quicksilver's attack here. Great for characters who have low defense stats. If you take no damage from this attack, stun the attacking enemy. So that will be an additional reward for being able to do that. We have the Sidestep card, which I have seen before. It's a Hero Interrupt. When you would take any amount of damage, prevent 3 of that damage. If you paid for this card using an energy resource, you would deal 1 damage to an enemy. Then we have the Armored Vest, which is another way to permanently upgrade a hero's defense stat by 1. And we have these cards right here, the Nerves of Steel upgrade. There are 3 copies for this. Play under a player's control, only max 1 per player. It says exhaust Nerves of Steel, generate an energy resource for a defense stat. So this would combo very well with your Sidestep card. Then we have some basic cards that are also a part of this pre-con deck. We have this Order and Chaos, which I've also seen in the Scarlet Witch pre-constructed deck. It's a team-up card that is Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch both have to be in play. So if you're playing a 2-player game and one player is Quicksilver and another player is Scarlet Witch, this would be at its most optimal because at any point in the game, you would be able to play this. Otherwise, if you are playing with either Quicksilver or Scarlet Witch, you have them in your toolkit. They are your signature allies, but unless they are actually in your player area when you play this card, you would not be able to actually legally play this card. And it's a Hero Interrupt. When a Treachery card is revealed from the encounter deck, cancel its when revealed effects and deal 2 damage to the villain. This is very great for when those pesky, annoying Treachery cards come out. But not only that, it's also useful because you can deal damage to the villain. Of course, you've got these resource cards that you see in every pre-constructed deck. At this point, you probably have tons of copies of these: the Energy, the Genius, and the Strength. And they are a double resource for the 3 respective resources found in this game. We have this Adrenaline Rush upgrade, a cost of 1. It's a hero action. You discard Adrenaline Rush, and your hero gets +1 attack until the end of phase, which could be very useful for Quicksilver in particular, who starts the game with these low stats. And then we have this Civic Duty upgrade, cost of 1. Discard Civic Duty. Your hero gets +1 thwart until the end of the phase. So basically, it's the equivalent of Adrenaline Rush, except thwarting instead of attacking. We have his Need for Speed obligation. He can respond to this by either exhausting Pietro Maximoff or exhausting your identity. You cannot ready your identity until your next turn ends. So, okay, we have the Avalanche Nemesis. Okay, and basically he has Insight 2. That is actually a pretty high Insight stat. Each player must choose to either take 2 indirect damage or exhaust their identity. You have his Side Scheme, which also comes with Insight 1. So basically, if you get Shadow of the Past and both of these cards come into play, they would add 3 threat to your main scheme immediately. So I feel like a Quicksilver player needs to keep that in the back of their mind as they are addressing the threat on the main scheme. They do not want to be taken by surprise. You have this attachment card. Reduce the damage attached enemy takes from each attack by 1. So, and then we have these 2 treachery cards, which again have the insight keyword here. Discard 2 cards from your hand and exhaust your identity. So that could be hurtful. And then every pre-constructed deck has this stop card here, letting you know that this deck has been pre-built and that all these other cards after this one are not part of the pre-constructed deck. But these are cards that you can use and add to your pool and eventually build with. So we have this aggression upgrade here, brute force. Your hero gets +1 attack. It's an upgrade. Your basic attack gains piercing. So you combine this card with the combat training card that you find in the original core set, and you can basically increase your hero's basic attacks by 2, not to mention the fact that they would have piercing and tough status cards would be of no effect against them. We have this sense of justice, play max 1 per player, exhaust sense of justice. You generate a mental resource for a thwart event. So this is really cool. It's the equivalent of the martial prowess card, which is in the aggression aspect, only it's for the justice. And then we have the United We Stand event for the leadership aspect. Play only of your identity has the Avenger trait, which Quicksilver does when he's in hero form, which this is a hero action anyway. And it allows you to heal 1 damage from up to X friendly characters. So this is great when you have a bunch of characters in play and they've all sustained some damage. You would be able to heal 1 from each of them, where X is equal to the villain's stage number. So I guess it's at most 3. Early on in the game, if you're only playing a stage 1 villain, might not be as worth it, but perhaps if you're at stage 2 or stage 3, it might have more value. And then finally, we have the Beat 'em Up event for the basic cards. It's a hero action, and we see She-Hulk here because basically it's the equivalent of She-Hulk's toolkit card, where she's able to deal 1 damage to the villain and to each minion engaged with you. So that could be very helpful when you have lots of weak minions that are interfering and getting in your way. And that's it for all the cards that came with this hero pack. This was fun. I will be showcasing new hero packs that come out, but at the same time also sharing with you as I open packs that might be new to me. Perhaps someone watching this video doesn't have Quicksilver in their collection as of yet, and maybe this video, along with any other research they might be able to do online, can hopefully be useful for them determining whether or not this is a hero that they want in their collection. Me personally, I try to buy them all, right? But I understand that for some people, they want to pick and choose the characters that most interest them. That's it for today's video. Please comment down below. Tell me what you think about Quicksilver. If you've already played him, do you like him? I'm really excited to get him to the table. That's it. This is Harry saying take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun gaming. Bye-bye.